it's really about personal development, because it really, if you have something you stand for and you go forward and stand up to certain things, you may hit roadblocks, but you move around those, and you constantly are seeing yourself getting further and further ahead.
Right.
And it makes you a stronger individual. It makes you more appreciative of what you got and fight for what you got harder.
Welcome to Lived In by Zoe Therapy Services. I'm your host, Micah Faye, and I'm excited to share with you a community of experts who specialize in helping you feel fantastic. That's what Lived In aims to be, an online hub for DIY wellness led by the experts and curated by folks who care. In this wellness series, I interview Richmond community leaders, vendors, and healers to empower you with a toolkit, one filled with healthy practices to make every day just a little bit better. So welcome to Lived In, your online comfy couch, surrounded by friends and supported by experts. Come on in. We're excited to have you. Hi friends, and welcome back to Lived In. I'm your host, Micah Faye, and today we are here with Milton Arers of RVAC Richmond, or RVA Cannabis Company.
Crowd goes wild in the background.
Yes, it definitely does.
How's it going?
And also, this is Velma. Sorry, I apologize. I didn't introduce Velma. Velma is here because her tummy hurts today, so she's joining us in the studio.
Gotcha.
So, what is your role in RVAC?
CEO.
CEO.
Sounds important, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Just one of the key mechanisms in the running and functioning of the company.
Okay, so tell me what that looks like. What does it mean to be RVAC?
Okay, gotcha. So we are a storefront, we're brick and mortar, right in Chester. We're Chester residents. And so it's given us a chance to give back to Chester.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Want to make sure that the right products are getting out to our community.
Right.
Making sure that the cannabis plant is represented in the best possible way in the community. A lot of people still are on the fence on whether or not they want to accept it in the communities.
Yeah.
So we're there to make sure that it's represented in a certain way, it has a certain image, and that the products are safe, that the people who want to get it have access to it.
Okay, so let's break that down. Tell me about the products.
So it depends on what type of individual or what type of product the individual wants, whether they're accustomed to drinking, say, tea, whether they're accustomed to drinking coffee, whether they're accustomed to snacking, or if they are a daily smoker.
Right.
The CBD itself is on all of these mechanisms. The mechanisms are just a vehicle. How are you going to get it into your system? Whether you drink it through tea or whether you drink it in a coffee or smoke it, it's all going to get into your system, the CBD portion of it. Some of those other beneficial terpenes may not be there in each one of those different variants, but for the main part, CBD, it's just how you're accustomed to your daily regimen. They have capsules, so if you have vitamins or something like that you take on a daily basis, then you can just add this capsule to your daily regimen, and you're getting your daily CBD in.
And she takes a tincture.
Yeah.
So we put a little bit of the tincture underneath of her tongue, and she just swallows that down, or on her food even.
On her food, and typically any type of a edible product, it is recommended to take with food, not on an empty stomach, because you want to really let as much of it be bioavailable to the body after it gets through the digestive tract. Because as soon as it hits your digestive tract, it's going to want to hit everywhere if there's no food along with it.
Right.
So if it has something especially fat to bind to, that's why a lot of your edibles have some type of a fat in there. So it has something to bind to as it goes through your digestive system.
That's cool.
Even after the fact, the studies are showing that you're only getting of about 10% of what you actually eat into your system as it goes through your digestive tract.
Right.
Only 10%. The tinctures for humans, why they typically tell you to leave it underneath your tongue, is so it has time to actually absorb in, bypassing your digestive tract, trying to absorb in as much as possible into your system. So that's why it's beneficial to take some type of a tincture or even a lozenger. That way it has time, which we have some of those at this store as well.
Cool.
So it'll slowly dissolve into your system that way.
Wow. So for people who do not know what CBD is, it's cannabinoid Cannabidiol.
Cannabidiol.
Yeah. And
Yep.
so it is not the same thing as weed or marijuana, and that is because why? For those who do not know.
Well, there's two different main receptors in the body that we know of as right now, CB1 and CB2 receptors. And THC activates one of those receptors, which is mainly found in the brain. And with those excitement of those receptors, it gives you that psychoactive intoxication effect. Well, the cannabidiol, which is CBD, acts on the CB2 receptor, which is mainly found throughout the body and in the immune system. So it's not going to pass on to that other receptor to activate any type of intoxication. So you'll get benefits of inflammation reduction. You can get benefits of anxiety reduction. So people say CBD isn't psychoactive. It really is. Because anything psychoactive is a change in your perception.
Right.
And so if you have an anxiety reduction or anxiety reducing product, the anxiety was reduced not through blood flow regulation or anything like that. It was due to the calming of the mental mind, what your perception was. So that is a psychoactivity.
Right.
So it does have psychoactivity properties to it. It just doesn't have the intoxicating properties or the euphoric properties that THC will have. So a long-winded way of saying one, THC works on one receptor that activates, the high feeling in your mind. CBD works more on your immune system function in the body.
Okay. So then for folks who are maybe a little bit nervous or maybe had a perception in their mind about this particular plant and what it does, you said that part of your job is making sure that this plant is not only safe but also well represented. So what's your spiel when someone says, oh, I don't know about that?
No, and the market's not regulated. It's, you got so many people just jumping in and out of this market because of what they want to pursue as the revenue. But along with that, you got people who are just selling products that aren't tested, products that aren't forthright in what's inside the ingredient list. So every right to be nervous. Our position was, and this kind of goes back to one of the reasons why we started the store and why we had the layout the way it was. We had a boxer. She had a tumor on her back. It was inoperable. Well, through research, on personal research on medicinal values of the herb, showing that it had the potential of shrinking tumors. So we decided to try and administer CBD oil and in hopes that it would shrink the tumor and give her a better quality of life. It did give her a better quality of life. Yeah. It did allow her to come off of her medications. But at the same time, you got to kind of wonder what you're giving your animal that you're picking up off the store shelf on a product that's not regulated, if it really is, the whole plant, since the access for us really it wasn't there at the time.
Yeah.
So that really had a big portion of us creating a glass kitchen in the retail area. So when people come in, they can see their products being made.
Cool.
They can see it from beginning to end. So they have an idea of what's in that end product. They know that, okay, I see it starting from that bud of a plant, and I see it being broken down into these different stages, and the end result is an oil. I can feel confident that that oil I'm taking is in fact that product.
Yeah, for sure. So where do you all source from? May I know?
It's a secret location. No. So one of the farms is here in Virginia, Shenandoah Valley area. So they're a great farm, organic practices.
Cool.
And then two of our other farms that we utilize are out in Oregon. One of them is USDA certified.
Okay.
And then the other one has organic practices.
Right.
So everything is grown organically.
Right. But that USD certification can be very expensive and time-consuming.
And it's very difficult in the hemp market.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to get in the hemp market. But again, the other company that has organic practices in Oregon is very strict on how their farmers can grow out there, even regular produce. They're very strict on what they can use on their crops.
Okay.
So we were confident in using them. The Virginia farms that their product just wasn't available at the time that we needed it, or some of the products just weren't what we were looking for.
Yeah. Huh. So then, who needs CBD, in your opinion? Who should seek out CBD as being part of their daily wellness routine?
Anybody can benefit from it.
Yeah.
Anybody can benefit from it. It just depends on how much you want to take care of yourself. The properties of the cannabis plant, and so CBD is, we're talking the whole cannabis plant here,
Right.
minus THC. So we'll stick on that variety for right now. Just the 0.3% or less THC variety, or hemp variety, if you want to call it. But the amount of terpenes that are found in this, that are found in other fruits and vegetables, you take those fruits and vegetables, and just not the vitamin C, and the orange is good. You know, just squeeze out the orange and then toss everything else except for the juice away. That'd be foolish. You're losing out on a lot of beneficial nutrients. So the cannabis plant is the same way with all the terpenes and stuff like that. You don't want to leave those out. CBD isolate is okay for targeted things. But all these other terpenes are very beneficial for just daily health.
Yeah.
Daily health. The regulation of the endocannabinoid system, ECS. The body automatically has this system in place. All mammals share this system. That's like you said, you give it to your pups here. It doesn't matter if it's a feline or all mammals have an ECS. And the cannabis plant works directly on that ECS system.
Yeah.
So it can be beneficial for everybody. So when you say who should take it, anybody should
Anybody
benefit from it, right?
I want to get some vocab in here. So isolate means that there's absolutely no trace of THC, whereas full spectrum means that there can be up to 0.03% of a trace. Is that a correct number?
No, full spectrum is going to have everything in there.
Is
full
it?
spectrum, yes. Full spectrum is going to have, it's the full spectrum of the plant. Now, whether or not it's going to be a THC or a CBD variety,
Right.
then that's based off of the 0.3% THC. So,
Right.
and then I think they're starting to classify those as like a type 1 and type 2 and type 3 type of varieties now.
Okay.
But yeah, so the full spectrum is going to be the full, all the cannabinoids in there, all the terpenes in there that are in that variety.
Right.
And so you got the full spectrum of that plant. Broad spectrum is everything except for certain compounds. So it's a broad range of it.
Yeah.
It's not everything, but it's a broad range. And typically the broad spectrum is the ones where we remove THC completely. And that's beneficial for like CDL drivers and government officials, things like that, where they can't have a trace of THC show up in their system.
Right.
Those broad spectrums and isolates are perfect for them.
Okay.
Full spectrum, if you constantly use it, because it does have trace amounts,
Right.
0.3% or less THC, it's going to show up in the system over time, over constant use.
Yeah. But we're still, when we talk about broad, full, and isolate, we're still not talking about that euphoric piece. Yeah, I just want to make that clear, because I think when I first was learning about CBD, it was unclear to me what that language actually meant for my experience of taking the thing and using the thing. So I want to be clear about that.
Yeah.
And then the other word that you are using, which is beautiful, and I don't remember it now, it starts with a T. It's in fruits as well.
Terpenes.
Terpenes.
There you go. It's like, are you talking about THC?
It's also in beer sometimes.
No, terpenes are in everything. Yes.
So what does a terpene do for us?
Terpenes are those little, I'll give you an example, aromatherapy.
Okay.
Aromatherapy are just terpenes that are extracted out of these different things, whether it's out of herbs, floral, or out of citrus, and then you burn it and you inhale it, and it acts on your nervous system, your central nervous system. Terpenes act on that, and it can be calming, it can be uplifting, it can be sedating. So those terpenes are very beneficial.
Right.
So I'll jump over to THC just for a moment.
No, you can jump as long as you want.
Okay, great. So THC, people think, okay, there's a sativa and there's an indica. Sativa meaning more uplifting, more racy feeling, more awake feeling. Indica is more in the couch or sleepy.
In the couch?
Yeah, relaxed
I heard on
feeling.
NPR this isn't true, though.
What's that?
I heard on NPR that those are like very broad categories, and they actually do not mean that almost at all.
That's exactly what I'm getting at.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yes. So people think that THC, has these two different categories. It couldn't be further from the truth. THC is a single compound.
Okay.
It has a certain molecular structure.
Mm-hmm.
If you isolate CBD,
right.
CBD or THC, it's not going to act on your body differently no matter, if you take it and comes out of one variety or another variety.
Really?
Same thing like limonene. It doesn't matter if I extract the limonene out of a lemon or if I extract the limonene out of a cannabis plant. That single compound is identical. It's going to act on the system identically. Now in cocktails, when you have different terpenes and all that mixed, yes, it does act differently. But so the single THC doesn't cause a sleepiness. It doesn't cause an awareness, a raciness about it.
Okay.
It causes the euphoricness. The tiredness or the up feeling comes from those terpenes.
Okay. So
we have a variety that's high in myrcene. And myrcene, also found in hops, taking in aromatherapy, it's very relaxing. So those varieties that are high in myrcene, we send all of our varieties to test.
Okay. So
we know what terpenes are in them. So we can help individuals when they come in the store.
Yeah.
And if somebody's having difficulty sleeping,
mm-hmm.
okay, I can point them over here to this myrcene category because I know those added compounds are going to help promote that sleep.
Yeah.
If they need something that's more awakening, I can point them over to our pinene category. And pinene is found high in like conifers, pine trees, out in the woods. You go for a walk out in the woods, you're inhaling all those pine trees. It's so awakening. It's So that is how it acts on your system. It acts on your central nervous system in those ways. So those terpenes are extremely beneficial to have in these plants, going back to full spectrum, broad spectrum, or isolate.
Right.
Isolate is great. Broad spectrum too, but if you have the opportunity to do a full spectrum, that's where you should look because it's going to have all of those terpenes in it.
So then, is it a mythos that this plant extracts this thing and therefore you'll get this out of this? When you go to states where marijuana is legalized and you can go into stores and they have like rows and rows and rows and they're all branded really specifically, and then if you ask like, oh, what's this Blue Reaper, they'll be like, oh, this is really good for artistic creation. And you're like, it's just blue weed. It's just blue. I don't know it doesn't seem real to me. What are they making that up, or are they adding terpenes like you're talking about right now?
Right, and that's what they're naturally found in. So when we send it out, it's not one terpene that comes back into the plant. It's, typically 5+ terpenes that will come back in each variety. And so each one has their own cocktail mixture. And certain ones will give you, like I said, the pinene is more uplifting.
Yeah.
So it can be, and along with, depending on how that cocktail is, it can be very mentally stimulating.
Sure.
And then, of course, the myrcene. Yes, somebody's like, hey, when they come in our store and they're having difficulty sleeping, I am in that category for them. And they are finding a relief from that category.
Right.
So you can, in a broad way, kind of direct people that way to a uplifting, but you can't say, take this and you'll be able to write, Beethoven's symphony.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. So it varies from individual to individual in their ECS,
Yeah. So is this something we're just now figuring out, or is this something that the industry has always known and has used to sell us this whole time? Like this indica being not true?
I think is being more explored here recently with the ability to extract terpenes on a commercial level.
Ah, okay.
Because now the machinery and stuff like that is being more affordable to where smaller operations can afford these things to extract terpenes.
I see.
And now they found out, hey, we can add this to drinks. We can add this to edibles or anything. They can add it to anything and try and influence a certain action on the body as far as being tired or uplifted.
Yeah. Are you willing to talk a little bit about like the politicization and social construct that is the cannabis plant?
Sure.
Yeah?
I mean, I'm in the industry, right?
Okay. I mean, you're in Southern America on the East Coast. That is a specific culture, and let's be honest, it's not a terribly open one sometimes. So what boundaries have you come up to, and how have you confronted people's ideas about what cannabis means and is and does?
The boundaries aren't an issue with individuals as long as the laws will allow me to go to those boundaries.
Okay.
The individual shouldn't matter on how you're influenced.
Yeah.
You shouldn't let the individuals influence your decision on what you're trying to achieve. So the law would be the ultimate influence. Okay,
Right.
Am I doing legal? Is what I'm doing legal?
Sure.
Is what I'm doing beneficial?
Yeah.
And if those two you can answer wholeheartedly yes, then it doesn't matter on what other people's beliefs are, whether it's governmental or not. And you're within your rights to do what you're doing.
Right.
And try and see a positive impact from it.
But that's what I'm meaning, like, how, on an interpersonal level, if you know that CBD, let's say, could really, really benefit someone, and they're steeped in Southern culture, and, I don't trust that, I don't put that in my body, the Lord does not agree with that.
I like the little Southern accent you're throwing in there, too.
It's because it is what I sound like if I do not modify my voice. But, like, my daddy could really benefit from CBD.
Gotcha.
Well, he would never use it. Never. Ever. Never even look at it twice. So
Yeah.
you are in Chester. You have to come up against that.
Oh, certainly.
So how do you help people? How do you convince them? Or I guess you probably don't convince them.
No. I mean, I give them information, and the store is in a retail store. It's not there to just sell people something. Mm-hmm. When people come in there, I'm there to inform them, because looking at all the noise that's out there, all the information that's out there on the web, a lot of it is inaccurate. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people are drawing their conclusions off what they read on the web, or an item that they bought from off the web, and it's like, oh, it didn't help me. Yeah. Well, what do you know about that company? Mm-hmm. So how do you make somebody more aware of a company than putting a physical company out there?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're there to inform people. Make an educated decision. If you're going to, I don't care what it is that you take. Mm-hmm. I don't care what it is that you're going to drink. Mm-hmm. If you sit down and you read and know exactly all about that item that you're going to take, or that item that you're going to drink, and you're okay with what that item is going to do to your body, that's up to you. You made a well-informed decision, as long as you know every single thing that that's going to do to you. Mm. And you still decide to take it or not to take it. That's an educated decision. Mm-hmm. I'm here to try and educate people as much as possible. Look, this is what the plant is. There are some things that you should be aware of, especially if you're on certain medications. But this is the information. It's up to you to decide on whether or not you can benefit from it. Yeah. It's up to me to present it in a way that it sounds good enough for you to think or believe that it can benefit you.
Yeah. So I sense that being a part of the Chester community and being an educational presence there is really important to you. So how do you do that practically? I know you hold Facebook Lives where you talk, and so how are you sharing this information with your community?
Right now, we're just I feel like we're just starting up. I feel like we're just young.
Yeah.
Just came open on September.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of work because it's just me, my wife, and our kids who are in here, our nephew. It's a family-run business.
Right.
But the amount of hands that, are trying to help the business grow.
Sure.
And, do the things that it can do, has kind of left us bound in store for the moment.
Yeah.
So all of those things are on the plate to come out for holding events,
Right.
like with legalization coming up and home cultivation, holding grow classes,
Cool.
and doing charitable events. We did a charitable event this past Christmas. We handed out turkeys over at a trailer park to over 100 families that really could have used it this year.
Yeah.
So just doing things like that, trying to make a good image in the community.
Yeah.
And then going up against roadblocks, like you say. We're trying to put signage up, and we're getting pushback from that because of the name. Try to open up bank accounts. Got declined from 14 different bank accounts. They wouldn't touch it. Anything in the cannabis industry, even though it's hemp and it's federally legal, the banks didn't want to touch it. So these challenges are part of that first wave of individuals who are coming through Virginia.
Right.
So kind of circling back around to that whole Southern, resistance on a cannabis,
Yeah.
Bible Belt and all. And so, yeah, you have a lot of that here.
We do.
But it's about pushing through that. And in pushing through that, it's really about personal development, because it really, if you have something you stand for and you go forward and stand up to certain things, you may hit roadblocks, but you move around those, and you constantly are seeing yourself getting further and further ahead.
Right.
And it makes you a stronger individual. It makes you more appreciative of what you got and fight for what you got harder.
Yeah. Well, I know you don't love talking about yourself, but you are talking about personal development. So I want to know, how did you and your family decide, it sounds like in a pandemic, to open up a store? What was that journey like for y'all?
Oh man, it was during a pandemic.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things where you really decide. If you have a goal in mind that you want to achieve, and you have a reason for it, it really doesn't matter on what's going on, even a pandemic. Very poor credit. Couldn't get a loan. His family scraped together money. Our dog had just passed away, and a lot of times, these little tragedies in your life will really push you to finally say, enough's enough. So I had another business going, and it's still there, it's still existing.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't. I wanted more for myself. I wanted more for the family.
Yeah.
So, because of what I went through with my dog, and I was like, I can bring value to this market. And the value I can bring is that transparency. The value I can bring is my standards, and the standards that I think the industry should be at. And so far, I see that I have really surpassed a lot of some of the other stores' products in the standards that they have.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't happen when somebody is just first jumping into a market, and these other stores and products have been on the market for a while.
Yeah.
So that shows me how much something really has to, a standard has to be set.
Right.
And then always increasing that standard. As I learn, I know how to improve and stuff like that. And I went all way off in left field. I forgot what the original question was.
Keep going, it's
opening up, but opening up during the pandemic is really hard.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough mentally. It's tough physically, but it's so rewarding. It's so damn rewarding.
Yeah.
Especially in the end. Well, not even the end. In the beginning, the opening was of the store wasn't the end of that journey. It was the towing on the line to the finish, to the start line.
Yeah.
You know, it's the, okay, now get ready. And as you slowly go and you see that your return customers coming back in there, that's a beautiful thing to have, is the return people that come back and tell you stories on how the products are affecting them.
Yeah.
And you feel partly responsible, some of those products being your own, but a lot of it being the information that you gave them and being the source place that they were comfortable enough to buy at.
Yeah.
That was one of the big things with the stores. We wanted to make sure that it was comfortable, that anybody can come in there, no matter what your age range is,
Yeah.
no matter what your gender is, no matter, you know, you could bring your kids in there. We had people come in with their pets and everything. We just wanted to make it open and welcoming for everybody to come in, because it's beneficial for across the board.
For everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a teacher, and I'm thinking how cool it must be for your kids to watch their dad, and I presume their mom, work together to create something that they now like have as a part of their legacy. Can you tell me about like how you talk to your kids about what you're doing and what it means to you and how it translates to them, maybe?
Yeah, no, and it goes back to personal growth. It really does. It's not about the business, and this philosophy is true in any business that you want to do, anything that you want to undertake that you think is a worthy goal, that you have value to bring to that industry. You're going to meet oppositions, you're going to meet challenges, but if your why you're doing it is strong enough, those oppositions really don't matter. As long as you keep the goal in mind, you can. Time sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's like, damn, you know, I'm doing all the right things. I'm making all the right moves. I'm doing all the right meetings. I'm making all the right calls. Why isn't, you know, my bank account reflecting what I'm doing?
Yeah.
That's part of the growth process. I figured that out. That's the patience you have to learn is part of that growth process. Yeah. So these are the things that we teach the kids. It's like I don't want them, and I never, even with my window tinting business, that did extremely well. We were booked up for a month and a half at a time. And the kids, I don't want you doing this. If this is not what you find fun, don't do it. Go out, explore what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know, this is what I found amusing. This is what I found good for me to do.
Right.
And this is how I'm making my income. But don't follow me because it's already established.
Right.
And so it trickles on with this business here. It's, you know, don't get into this, you know, this is why, and they know why we're doing it. We're doing it to help people, and it's great for them to hear those testimonies too. And it feels good when, you know, your son is there and they overhear a client say, you know, the product really helped them, and it has more power than you telling them, hey, we helped somebody today.
Yeah.
When they actually see that person, that was very rewarding. That was probably one of the most rewarding things thus far. Yeah. Really, was to have that happen.
Wow.
But so we just tell them, hey, I asked my son the other day, I said, so do you want to go to work for somebody, or do you want to have your own business? And he said, I don't know. He said, it seems like having your own business is just a lot of work.
Smart kid.
Because we're gone all the time. We're only closed one day a week. Wow. But every single day we're there. Oh. We're open to close. But that's what you got to do for, you know, your dreams, right? Your goals.
How old is that kid?
Oh, he's 13.
Oh, it's like my favorite age.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he'd be an 8th grader right now, yeah?
Yes.
9th grade.
He's going up into 9th grade next year.
Next year?
Yeah, rising 9th. Yes.
9th graders are my favorites. Congratulations to
I think that was
grader.
I think that was the year that I just went astray. I don't know.
I think that's why I like
9th year. Yeah.
They're so weird. Like, they're just so full of weird. I love them. Yeah. They're great. But I remember my dad had a construction business when I was a kid, which is to say he still has a construction business now. But I remember my favorite place being in my dad's office. I just loved being there with him and seeing him do the thing he was good at. And I knew I've never been an entrepreneurial person. It's not in my spirit. But I liked seeing that my dad was doing something that he was really good at. And
did you ever tell him that, though?
Yeah, all the time.
You did?
Yeah, I embarrassed him because I would tell him during meetings. I'd be like, Daddy, you're good at this. And he'd be like,
wow. Hold on,
thank
how old were you?
honey. When he started his business, I think I was 7, maybe a little younger.
Have you told him lately?
Yes, but here's he started working for another person as well, so like supplement his income.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I used to be pretty full time with my dad. I was, I would sleep in the truck every night while he was on job sites, and so I just know that your kids seeing you do the thing that you're good at is good for them, which is why I wanted to.
That's great.
Ask about it. Yeah.
Hopefully they'll tell me one day.
They will. I know. I for real embarrassed him. I'd be like, "Wow, Daddy, you're really good at leading meetings." He'd be like, "Thank you, honey. We're in a meeting now." And I'd be like, "Okay, sorry." Daddy, can I go run around? And he'd be like, "That would be a good idea." And then he would shoo me away with one of our hundreds of dogs because they're a big part of our lives, obviously.
Yes.
So what's your hope for cannabis, like the future of cannabis in Virginia and legally maybe, or like your future hope for your business? Either way, what's the path you see forward?
Okay, for cannabis in Virginia, now that legalization is coming on board, medical cannabis is already here.
Mm-hmm.
Recreational's 2024.
Really?
Yes, so retail sales is 2024. Recreational possession and cultivation is this July.
Really?
So yes, you'll be able to grow 4 plants per household and legally possess up to an ounce and can swap. If your friend has a certain variety of tomato they grow and you want to exchange, that's totally fine. It's totally legal.
Wow. Very cool.
Yep.
You are very up to date on all of your knowledge. How do you stay up to date?
I constantly read. I don't watch TV.
Okay.
I don't watch TV. My couch in my living room hasn't been sitting on in over a year. TV in the living room hasn't been putting on from me, probably in that long as well.
Yeah.
For people who really are aggressive in trying to accomplish things, they don't have time to sit down and watch TV. They don't have time to sit down and play games. You really got to feed your mind. You really got to stay. If you want to be competitive in a very saturated market, and this is a very saturated market, everybody is getting in this market on any which way they can, from candles to soaps, shampoos, tinctures, every which way they can get in here. And none of them are setting up brick and mortar stores, but there's tons of them on the internet.
Yeah.
And that's the way people shop. So it's a very saturated market. It's a very competitive market. Sure. So in order to be competitive in a competitive market, you have to sharpen your skills constantly. And that's feeding my mind, reading constantly, trying to stay up to date on new studies, not just reading. How do you
do that, though? Like specifically, if someone is interested, as you are, in this legislation and in the science, where do you go for that?
Legislation, Virginia Normal is very up to date on all of the legislatives that's going on. And so that is a huge informational source.
Okay.
Outside of that, for studies and research, I'll jump into PubMed, which is the published medical journals. So now with the legalization coming on, universities are going to be able to study it more and more things will be found out about the plant.
Right.
So as those studies are being done, I'm making sure I'm gobbling them up as they're being done because, things will change. Some information that we had will rearrange to, it's longer studies being done. There's a product that's out there right now that the studies just are not convincing enough for me to carry it in store. Mm-hmm. It's a Delta 8, which is a synthesized product. It's not a naturally grown product. Mm-hmm. It's not naturally extracted. It does help people for certain things, but our stance on what we're doing, it's, you don't want to compromise your values in what you're doing. Even though if the cha-ching looks good here, it's not worth it here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Long term.
So what is a thing that is on the horizon that's exciting you? Because clearly you're up to date on everything. So what's the next thing for RVAC?
Multi-location. Multi-location is the next thing. Trying to give people more and more access.
Yeah.
We love the store environment. We know a lot of stores are consolidating and moving to online, but with the cannabis, it's more of an experience. When you come in, you get the smells, you get the aromas, you get the visuals. Yeah. I don't think that cannabis stores will ever go strictly online. I think just those dispensary style feels will always be there. So whether it's the THC market or whether it's still the constant CBD market, multi-location, just to bring people a good wow factor. Cool. I like to stimulate the mind, stimulate the eyes, the senses, all of that. And so.
Where are you thinking?
Undisclosed location.
But there is a plan, it sounds like.
Yes, there is.
That's amazing.
There always has to be a plan. You have to have a life plan.
Yeah. Well, this has been a really cool talk. How do I come visit you? Where are you located currently?
Chester, Virginia.
Okay.
Yes, right on West 100 Road, main road, right across from Pizza Hut and Molly's Bicycles.
Great. I love it. Yeah. And what number do we call? Can we email you? How do we find you?
Email is attention@rvacannabiscompany.com.
Cool.
Attention spelled all the way out. Calling, that's fine too. 804-796-7822.
Cool.
That's 804-796-7822.
And do you have a website?
Website, rvacannabiscompany.com.
You're making it really easy here, aren't you?
Oh, that's awesome. RVA Cannabis Company is all you have to type in and we will pop up.
Okay.
Made sure that I was diligent on doing my homework there too. Even on Instagram, RVA Cannabis Company.
Cool.
At RVA Cannabis Company.
And we can come and see your glass kitchen.
That's right, but hold on, there's more.
No, for real, tell me.
We're starting the YouTube channel. RVA Cannabis Company. Wow.
Crazy. I never would have guessed.
So yes, RVA Cannabis Company is on all social media platforms. Well, not all, but Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and website.
Y'all could probably have a cool TikTok.
Actually, TikTok, yes. RVAC_.
Love it. Super
Check
easy
it out.
Good. Well, this has been really, really cool and enlightening. And I want to say how much I appreciate, as a teacher, your constant need to learn and grow. That is not something that can be taught. That is something that people come with. And I just think it's really cool to see that you're putting it toward your passion. So.
Wow, that's the first time a teacher ever told me that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dropped out of school in 9th grade.
All people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that's because you probably had a few shitty teachers, and I apologize on their behalf.
No, it was me. It was the student wasn't ready.
Well, again, this has been awesome. I want to go see your cool glass kitchen.
Yes.
So when summertime comes, I will come around, and maybe I'll bring Velmy to see if she likes anything in particular.
Yes, I'll give her some dog treats while she's there if she eats any treats.
She's a highly anxious bean, so she is going. She needs. We haven't found treats that work yet, though, so it would be nice to find treats that work.
I'll drop some off over to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this has been lovely, and we'll see you next time, friends.